In this video, we want to take a look at an equation solving process and kind of think carefully about what it is we're doing when we're solving this equation. So I'm just going to solve these two equations in a pretty standard way, and then we're going to come back and resolve them in a way that puts a little more thought into what we're doing. So for starters here, let's see. By the way, this is a righto. These should all be x's. I was doing systems of equations lately. Okay. So let's see, I have 3x and 8x all together. That's 11x equals 22. So I divide by 11 on both sides, and x is 2. And then over here, 9x minus 5x, that's 4x equals 8. And I'll divide by 4 on each side, and x equals 2 again. But let's still put a little thought into what we're actually doing here. When we're combining like terms, what we're really doing is a kind of almost like a reverse distributive property. So I'm pulling the x out, and I have x times 3 plus 8. So that's where the 11x comes up from. 3 plus 8 is 11, and then and there's the x. So it's really kind of a distributive property sort of thing. It's 22. And then when I divide by 11, I'm dividing by this 3 plus 8, and I get 22 over 3 plus 8. And of course, 3 plus 8 is 11, and 22 divided by 11 is 2. But here's how we would be solving the equation if we say couldn't break apart the 3 plus 8. Imagine they were variables, and I couldn't just add them together and find out what they were. Over here, we have 9x minus 5x is 8. Well, I could imagine I'm going to kind of pull the x out using, like I said, kind of a reverse distributive property thing. And I end up with 9 minus 5 is 8. Imagine I were to multiply this back in. X times 9 is 9x. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. Then I'm going to divide. Now here, this is the part where I'd be dividing by 4. And 9 minus 5 is really the same as 4, just written in a different way. So I'm going to divide by 9 minus 5 on both sides, and we get x is 8 over 9 minus 5. So same solution, but if, say, for example, instead of 9 and 5 and 8, we had variables, and we couldn't, or some unknown, and we couldn't actually add them together or subtract them, one from the other, we could still solve the equation in a sense for x, except instead of having actual numbers over here, we'd have some unknowns or variables. So again, the process here is we have to do some sort of, it's kind of a reverse distributive property. We're going to pull the x out, and then we're left with here the 9 minus 5 and here the 3 plus 8. And then we divide by that amount. And it's perfectly okay to divide by, say if this were like a plus b or m minus n. It's okay to divide by that. So we would just bring that down into the denominator of this fraction over here. And that gives us our solution.